Well, talking about money can be a point of contention for couples. In fact, it's one of the leading causes of divorce or separation, according to our next guest. While it's important to have financial autonomy, she says being transparent about money and combining finances with your partner could create a sense of togetherness and help strengthen your relationship financially. We're joined by money coach and financial therapist Brenda St. Brenda, so can you first off just tell us a little bit about being a financial therapist and just what people come to you for?
A lot of my clients are making really good money. They're mid to high earners, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. And if they're in a relationship, they may have challenges with communication, structure, kind of leveraging their money so that they can make the most of it, really. Money is a pretty contentious issue for a lot of people.
What about couples in particular? What do they come to you with?
They may have very powerful, big goals, whether it's a down payment on a house or to get out of debt. And maybe one couple doesn't make as much as the other and spends more than the other. There could be some dreams. They may not be on the same page. So a lot of times one couple instigates coming to me and the other one's a little dragging their feet. So the idea is to get them on the same page.
And is that difficult? I mean, if they've had difficulty doing it on their own, having those kind of conversations, how do you kind of, break the ice?
Well, I often will set up money dates for clients, and there's usually a list of 10 things. So there's 10 money dates, they're 30 minutes each, and they aren't addressing the problems right away, because I think that's when we start to talk about money, is always when there's a problem. And these are more about talking your dreams, getting a plan together so that you can reach your goals and your targets, and having it an ongoing thing once a week that you have a money date.
So it's part of your sort of weekly routine there.
It is. And it could be actually paying the bills too. That might be part of it, or just seeing where your spending is and aligning where you're going. So it's really about having it being a part, like cleaning the house. You know, you have to clean the house every week, hopefully. You also should be talking about your money every week too.
When we're talking about couples, I mean, we kind of automatically think about the married couple when you're talking about combined finances. But I mean, marriage isn't always a given, but also people who are just dating. Like, at what point do you start actually having conversations about money?
I think right away. And if you're strategic about it, do it at the beginning so that you can start having these conversations about money. And they could be very similar to talking about your family of origin. Like, what were they like with money growing up? What was your dad and your mom like, and how has it affected you? And those kind of things, or dreams of what you would like for your future, and what are you going to do about it? Like, how much does it cost? Or you've been saving for it? Things like that.
So if people do decide to couple up for the long run, is combining finances the right way to do it?
I like to say it's a bit of a hybrid model. We're all kind of different, and we all come from our own story. And sometimes combining finances for some people have been detrimental in some ways, so they might be more resistant to it. But I think there should be your own autonomy with money, as well as a team, like building a team, having a joint account where you both contribute the same amount, so that you don't have to split hairs or do mental accounting about going out to eat or buying groceries or paying the rent. That usually kind of solves a lot of the problems when you have discussions around money, if you're equally contributing to those variable costs.
To take away sort of from the, I mean, there could be some guilt involved if somebody is paying or isn't paying their, what the other person might feel is their share.
Yeah, and I think those are the unspoken resentments that build over time. So some of the strategies that we might have with, say, our money date, there I will set up different questions that couples will ask each other, saying, did I spend anything this week that made you think it wasn't worth it? Or just talking about the logic around how you're spending your money and why, because they do really align with your values, and each couple might not have the same values about where they put their money.
And it's interesting too, because having this relationship, or having this conversation rather, in a relationship, it might be a conversation that you haven't had with anyone before.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the hardest conversations. It's one of the most underexplored energies in a relationship. And I think it's the most productive, and it's going to help you in the long run in such a big way when you make that part of your relationship and being able to talk about it.
And worst case scenario, Brenda, the possibility that, not agreeing over finances or just seeing things so differently could lead to people breaking up?
Absolutely. And a part of it is because they haven't planted the seeds to have healthy money conversations. So no matter how contentious an issue can be, if you've built the foundation of how to talk about things and how to navigate things, it'll strengthen your relationship, and you can overcome those things, and it can actually strengthen things when things are problematic at first.